What's up, y'all? It's Brian back again with Crush Cards, and today we are going to try to do something a little bit different that we have never done on the channel before. However, within all the comment sections of our zombie videos on our Instagram and comments and our messages on our Instagram, you guys have asked me multiple times to go over the new zombie Eldlich Archetype, give you my thoughts and opinions, and just kind of talk about it in general. So that's what we're here to do today. We'll go over the cards real quick, and then we're going to talk about some of the combos, because a lot of people talk about the cards themselves, but they don't talk about the combos that you need to have or that you can do with these. No one talks about just the generic zombie support that already exists and like the things that you can do with that, adding them in, and just kind of we'll go over some pros and cons, and also something that I think we all really need to consider is the timeline for this. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it, right? So first we have, we'll just revisit this. This is the big boss monster himself. The only one con right now is that it's the only monster, so that's kind of a downside, but it says it's a light level 10 zombie monster. It is Eldlich the Golden Lord. This is your boss monster of the entire archetype, and by the entire archetype, I mean it's the only monster so far in the archetype. We will get into things that I would like to see towards the end, but let's go down with this card. Its attack is 2,500, its defense is 2,800, and it has 2 effects. It also says you can use each effect of this card's name once per turn. So you can activate both effects, which is really powerful. So the first effect is send this card and 1 spell trap card from your hand to the graveyard, then target 1 card on the field, send that card to the graveyard. That is awesome. It's really powerful because that's sending. It's not destruction, it sends. It's like a little baby Dingirsu. So a lot of decks right now, and a lot of cards in general, just have destruction protection. So being able to send a card is really cool. The only thing that, like, just off of reading it, and I thought this the first time too, is send 1 card and this card from your hand to the graveyard to send 1 card off your opponent's field. So like you go -1. Not the best thing in the world, but like I can see how it's doable still. And then the second effect, which I think is the best effect because there's only 2, is that if this card is in your graveyard, you can send 1 spell trap you control to the graveyard, add this card to your hand, then you can special summon 1 zombie monster from your hand until the end of your opponent's turn. That monster gains 1,000 attack and defense and cannot be destroyed by effects. So, based off of this card's wording, we'll get into like combos and stuff at the end, but based off of this card's wording, you can send 1 spell trap card you control to the graveyard as long as this card is in your graveyard. So the cost is this card being in the graveyard and having a spell and trap card on the field that you can send to the grave, and then add this card to your hand, then special summon 1 zombie monster from your hand. So it doesn't have any stipulations. You can't just special summon itself. So it sounds like as long as you have this card in your graveyard and a spell card to send, you can add it back and then just re-special it right there. So that card, it kind of special summons itself as long as you have a spell that you want to get rid of. So I think that's really cool. That's really strong. Onto our spell. The first spell is a continuous spell, Cursed El Dorado. Love the name. The cards' names are really cool, and the artwork is insane. It's a continuous spell, and it says you can only use this card's name's 2nd and 3rd effect once per turn. So the first effect is that you cannot attack with zombie monsters, or you cannot attack with monsters except zombie monsters. I kind of feel like that's a con. We'll get into that towards the end of the video when we do the pros and cons, but a lot of these cards have like zombie specific requirements, which the deck would just be more broken if they didn't, but I guess that's their way of trying to balance it. So the second effect says that you can pay 800 life points. Life points don't matter, because that's fine. And then add 1 Eldritch monster or 1 Golden Land spell trap card directly from your deck to your hand. That's awesome. Like that is like, so realistically, if you play 3 of this and 3 of the boss monster, you play 6 copies because you can just search him off of this. And then the third effect is if this card is sent from the spell trap zone to the graveyard, you can send 1 Eldritch monster or 1 Golden Land spell trap card from your deck to the graveyard. So, not to spoil the combos, but real quick, if I'm not mistaken, you have this card, you activate this card, pay 800 life points, and then add the big boss boy from your hand, right? You add it, from your hand to the graveyard. As long as you have a way to get him from your hand to your graveyard, like, I don't know, Unizombie or Jacobolin or something like that, you can just activate this card's effect in the graveyard to literally just pop this card and then special summon himself. And then because this card was popped, you get to add a Golden Land card directly from your deck to your graveyard. Like, that's awesome. That's really cool. In a lot of, spoiler, all of these cards have graveyard effect, like all the spells and traps have effects in the graveyard. So it kind of gets you a plus. Like I can understand, like this deck seems really +1, -1 with the interactions, but once we have the cards and we test it, we will figure out what the actual interactions are. Next, my favorite, this is my favorite card in the entire deck. It is just, the artwork is insane. It reminds me of like the Mandalorian when they're like underground forging all the armor. I think this card is really cool. And then it's called Elixir of Black Awakening. Man, it even has a cool name. Like that's awesome. It's a normal spell. And then this is where we get into what I'm gonna call the blah clause, because it says you can only activate this card's name effect 1 or 2 once per turn. So they have 2 effects, but you're locked into one of the 2 effects. So the first effect is you can special summon 1 zombie monster from your hand or deck in defense position. If you do not control an Eldritch monster, you can only special summon Eldritch monsters with this effect. For the rest of the turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters except zombie monsters. So you have to have the big boy, right? That's one of the other cons I think that this deck has, is that if you don't have the big boy, all of these are kind of just dead cards, right? So if you don't have the what is it, Golden Lord, like all these cards are kind of dead cards. So you need to get to him as soon as possible. I do think that there's like ways to turbo him out turn 1. A lot of these cards really help. This is definitely one of them because you can just activate it and special him directly from your deck to your side of the field. Or turn 2 or 3, if you already have him and you can activate this again, you can just get another zombie monster for free. So that is insane. Like being able to special summon from the deck, nuts. Like that's awesome. And then the second effect is you can banish this card from your graveyard and then set 1 golden land spell trap card directly from your deck to your side of the field. So that's also cool. Like it gets you access. Like this is just utility, right? It gets you a monster if you want it, or it gets you one of your spells and traps if you need it. So that's really strong. The next card is Elixir of White Fate. It's a quick play spell card. It says you can only activate, it's the black clause, 2 effects, you can only activate 1. Special summon 1 zombie monster from your hand or graveyard, and if you do not control an Eldritch monster, you can only special summon an Eldritch monster with this effect. For the rest of the turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters except zombie monsters. So once again, you gotta find a way to get this Eldritch card either out of your hand into the graveyard, or like have an additional spell that you don't need to activate his effect going second, right? Because you can't, if I'm not mistaken, it says send this card and 1 card from your hand to the graveyard on the field. Okay, I mean like, so you guys correct me if I'm wrong, right? So for his first effect, send this card and 1 spell trap from your hand to the graveyard, then target 1 card on the field. It doesn't even have to be your opponent's card. So I guess going first, you can target your own card and send it. Like if you really need to just get him engraved to activate like something like this to special him back. I don't know. I mean, like I definitely don't think that's the route that you're supposed to go. It is an option, but you definitely, like, once again, one of the cons is I think that this deck really functions too heavily on having just the 1 Eldritch monster and only that monster, and having him on your side of the field, and then the stipulation of only being able to special summon zombie monsters, and then the first spell card only allows you to attack with zombie monsters. Kind of but the second effect for this card is that you can banish this card from your graveyard, set 1 golden land spell trap directly from your deck to your field. So it sounds like all these spells and trap cards, I mean, we haven't gotten to the trap cards yet, but we've all read them already. They all can just banish themselves and then add 1 of the spell trap cards from your deck directly back to your field. So that's really cool. Being able to special summon monsters from your hand or your deck, like, these 2 cards are really strong. I honestly think this is the best one, but we'll go on to our first trap, which is a normal trap card, and it is Elixir of Red Splatter. The art for these cards is really cool. Once again, black clause, you can only use 1 and get a balloon. Effect 1, special summon 1 zombie monster from your deck or graveyard in defense position. If you do not control an Eldritch monster, you can only special summon an Eldritch monster with this effect. For the rest of the turn after this card resolves, you can only special summon monsters that are zombie monsters. Okay, that's fine. This is literally the trap card version of the spell card, so you're realistically playing 6 of this. And then, I mean, like, we can talk about the possibility, right? Like, this is a normal trap card. So if you play Trap Trick, you could play 9 copies of this, so like 9 ways to special summon a zombie directly from your deck to your side of the field. That's kind of strong. And if I'm not mistaken, right, we're not gonna spoil too much, but like, yeah, you have another normal trap card. So like, I'm not saying Trap Trick is the best way to go, but it's just an option. So that's really strong. And then the second effect, once again, banish this card from your graveyard, set 1 golden land spell trap card directly from your deck to your side of the field. Then we have our continuous trap. This is my least favorite out of the bunch, but it is Guardian of the Golden Land. And once again, the black claws, the 2 effects, you can only activate 1. The first effect is you can special summon this card to your monster zone as a normal monster. Zombie, light, level 8, attack 800, defense 2500. So I mean level 8, like if you have this in Doom King, I guess you could go into like Zombie Stein and then Zombie Stein detach Doom King, special summon Doom King back. Like, I get it. Not a fan of trap monsters personally, but it says this card is still treated as a trap card, which is like one of the bigger downfalls, because if this was treated as an Eldritch card or an Eldritch monster, you could activate your spells and traps for free. Like, now you're not only locked into just your big boss guy, but you unfortunately, you are, because it's a trap card. And then it says, still part of the same effect, then if you control Eldlich the Golden Lord, you can make 1 face-up, monster's attack 0. So, I guess it can help you push for damage. The second effect is during the end phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, set 1 Elixir spell and trap directly from your deck to your graveyard. Next, we have another continuous trap card. It is, oh man, I'm gonna butcher this. Conquero of the Golden Land. My apologies. The black claws again, and then effect 1 is special summon this card to your monster zone as a normal monster. Okay, so it's a trap monster. Zombie, light, level 5. Very strange level, but attack 18, defense 15. This card is still treated as a trap card, so like it doesn't count as an Eldritch monster. And then if you control Eldlich the Golden Lord, you can banish 1 card from either graveyard. So it's an in-archetype DD Crow, like that's kind of cool. Some synergy I can see with this is if you have this card and Doom King plus the Eldritch, which like kind of sounds like a lot of setup, you can banish 2 cards, because Doom King can activate on any of your opponent's activated monsters to banish a card, and then this card can also banish a card. So like, that's kind of strong to have 2 DD Crows. And then of course during the end phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, set 1 Elixir spell and trap directly from your deck to your side of the field. Cool. We have another continuous trap. It is Conquistador of the Golden Land. Kind of cool. You can, black claws, the same thing. Effect 1, special summon this card to your monster zone as a normal monster, zombie, light, level 5, with the same stats as the other one, so 15 attack, 18 defense. This card is still treated as a trap monster. Like, man, that's kind of lame. If you control Eldlich the Golden Lord, you can destroy 1 face-up card. Okay, that's cool. Like, that's generic spot removal for the deck. Personally, destruction isn't really strong right now, because a lot of decks play around destruction, and a lot of decks have ways to like save from destruction. But still, like, being able to pop a card for free is really cool. And then the second effect is during the end phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, set 1 Elixir spell trap card directly from your deck to your side of the field. So that's really strong. Next, we have our counter trap, the ever glorious Golden Land. You can only activate 1 of this card's names per turn, which is totally fine. It is Solemn Judgment for the archetype, but the cost is a little steep, personally, in my opinion. When a spell, trap card, or monster effect is activated and you control an Eldritch monster, tribute 1 zombie monster. Then you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy the card. So, tributing a zombie monster, I mean, I guess like if you activate like one of the traps first and get that as like a trap monster, and it's still considered a zombie, you could like activate this and then just tribute the trap. So like, I guess I get it, but like, man, say you don't end really well, or like you don't open really well, and you've got to like tribute a Doom King or something, or like even if you have something that you don't want off field, like a Jack of Bullet, like I don't know, like the tributing a monster seems kind of steep. Like all these cards require you to have the Eldritch dude on board already. Not that he's hard to get out, but like if you don't get him out turn 1, it's a dead card. So like I feel like having the Eldritch monster would have just been enough. But I mean, hey, I didn't write these cards. And then there is my favorite card, the favorite trap card. This is really interesting. It's a normal trap card, so once again, not saying you have to play Trap Trick, but if you do, you can play multiple targets for it, and then you can activate 1 of this card's name per turn. If you control an Eldritch monster, activate 1 of these effects. Shuffle 3 of your banished Elixir spell trap cards with different names into your deck, and if you do, destroy all cards on the field. That's nutty, right? So this is like literally a built-in, like an in-archetype Black Rose Dragon. Only thing to note for this is that it destroys all cards on the field, right? So if this said destroy all cards on your opponent's field, that would be rad. Just keep in mind too that if Zombie World is face up on the field, you will also lose your field spell. So be really cautious with how you activate this, when you activate it. I don't think it's a bad card at all. I think it's really strong. And then the next effect is like awesome. I love this part. I think this makes up for one of the other stipulations, which is shuffle 3 of your Golden Land spell trap cards from your banished zone into the deck, and if you do, have your opponent's life points, then you gain life points equal to what they lost, which is like really strong. So what I was talking about is I think that this is kind of cool because this locks you, most of these cards lock you into only special summoning zombie monsters and or attacking with zombie monsters. So like, I mean, let's just be honest, you can't Boros Sword your opponent for game, which is kind of lame. But if you can like have your opponent's life points and then just go in and just like, if you got like the Golden Boy and Doom King, you can just kill him right there. Like, that's really cool. And then like pop, like it's really like, I don't know, I think it's an interesting card effect. I don't know how many of these traps you honestly play. I think this is a really interesting archetype, and then something that no one is talking about, once again, at the bottom of the page, we're getting a Unizombie reprint. Like, that's awesome. Most of these sets are super rares, if not ultra rares. So to get another holo Unizombie reprint is really strong. And like, let's not forget, Unizombie is the best starter in your entire deck, right? Like, it Foolish Burials a card from your deck to your graveyard, and then it discards a card from your hand. So like, this helps you get the Golden Boy directly out of your hand and into the graveyard so that you can activate his effects. Okay, so now we'll talk about some of the combos, right? So say you have Unizombie, the Golden Boy, and any spell card. You can normal summon Unizombie, activate Unizombie's effect, discarding this card. Now you have two options, right? You can also activate Unizombie to like send your Banshee to get your Zombie World, or you can activate your Unizombie to send a Mizuki. You can banish the Mizuki and then special this card back from the graveyard for free. Now you have access to this card. It's totally fine. Depending on what your hand is, like, you do what you gotta do. But if you discard this card off of Unizombie and you have an additional spell card, like say you play Instant Fusion or like Call by the Grave and you open to two of them, or you just don't feel like you need it because you just activated both the Unizombie's effect, your opponent didn't hand trap you, so that's fine. You can set your Call by the Grave because this card literally says if this card is in the graveyard, you send one spell trap card you control to the graveyard. It doesn't have to be face up, so you can just like send that set card and then like add this card back to your hand and then just special him. So that's a really free, like, it's not really a plus, but like it's a really free way to get him on the field. And then also, like, once again, Gozuki, if you have a Gozuki and like an additional monster, you can link the two away, activate Gozuki's effect to banish the monster you linked away with, and then special summon this card from your hand. So that's an easy way to get it out of your hand. You could always just do the typical, very cheap zombie glow up bloom, banish it from your graveyard once it hits the graveyard, and then you special summon any level 5 or higher zombie monster directly from your deck, provided that Zombie World is face up on the field. So that being said, I think it's really, really imperative that we talk about zombie monsters, right? Because in the last year or two, we've gotten this guy, Jacobolin, Helena, Doom King, and Vampire Fraulein, right? Vampire Fraulein is kind of like an in-archetype hand trap, but this deck plays with life points, so like maybe it fits in. So 5 of them, right? I think we need to talk about our zombie boss monsters. We do not need to play all 5 of them, and I would argue we don't even need to play 3 of them. Like, you could probably play 2, you definitely don't need 4. So in my honest opinion, I think Fraulein's really good, but I think she's a little bit stronger in a control variant. I think Helena, honestly, not worth it. It's a -1 just to activate the effect. It's kind of strong, but I don't see it being worth a slot in the deck, and I definitely don't see it being worth the Glow Up Bloom banish just to get it on the field for free. Doom King is easily the best zombie boss monster. I still think he's better than this, but they can have synergy. Like, this can activate its effect, and if you have Doom King on the field, you could chain like to banish, so I think that's really cool. Jacobolin, I think in this deck specifically is like a 1-of because it can help you, you know, like, once again, Jacobolin activates to special summon itself by discarding this guy. Now he's in your graveyard. You set a spell or trap card directly from your hand to your field that you don't need, and then you just activate this guy to pop that card and then special him from your hand. So like, that's really cool, and you haven't even committed to like a normal summon. So I would argue, okay, maybe you play Jack at 2. I don't know. We don't have these cards. We're definitely going to be getting some boxes of this set, so please stay tuned for that. I know that we are going to buy at least 3 to 4 boxes of this, so check that out on the channel when this comes out. We are going to rip this set open, Secret Slayers, I believe it's called, and we are going to build this deck, so stay tuned for the opening of that so you can see all of our ratios. Stay tuned to see the deck profile for this, but something we also need to talk about. Secret Slayers comes out April 3rd, 5th, something like that. That's Master Rule 4.5 or Master Rule 5. Like, we are in a brand new Master Rule. And something no one has talked about yet. Needle Fiber will be live then. we're gonna have Needle Fiber when this set comes out. Needle Fiber is easily probably the most broken way to play zombies. So specifically, like myself, control, combo, I think this deck tries to like match the two together, like the spells can act kind of as like a control-ish, and then this can allow you to combo off a little bit. I think this tries to bridge the two play styles together. But when Needle Fiber comes out, yo, combo zombies is tier 1. That's the way I'm gonna be playing the deck. So make sure you also stay tuned for that. Definitely gonna have some profiles and some combos when Needle Fiber is live. But for the new master rule, right? Like with this right here, if we don't have the ability to guarantee going first, your opponent sets up 3 to 4 negates, like just extra deck spams, whether it's synchros, exes, whatever. I don't really know, I don't see how this deck plays well going second. So I don't know how viable it really is. I'm sure we can attempt to figure it out together, and we will, but just keep that in mind, right? Like keep in mind that when this comes out, like this would be really strong if we had this like next week, but we have this next format. We have this with Needle Fiber. We have this with all like Link Cross, I think will even be free like 2 weeks after the release of this. So like, I don't know, maybe. Pros and cons, right? So let's talk about some of the pros. Pros, this guy, the big boss monster, super easy to get out. You can play 6 of him with this searcher card. Special summoning zombie monsters from the deck, you play 6 ways to do that, provided you have the big golden boy, and you have ways to like get it out of your hand. So like really, really easy to get him on the field. So that's really, really great. Pros, it's relative generic zombie support, right? Like you don't have to play this as a huge engine in your zombie deck. Unizombie reprint, I guess that's not really a pro to this archetype, but that's really strong too. It gives a lot of cool like combo aspects. It allows you to do and open up the playstyle of zombies more. I really appreciate Konami giving us this and Jack of Bolin, like showing us zombie players some love is really, really awesome. We really do love it. We really do appreciate it, Konami. So thank you so much. And then some of the cons. I don't like that it locks you into like special summoning only zombie monsters for the duration of the turn. I know Glow Up Bloom does that, but you can easily just like play around Glow Up Bloom by doing that last. But these are like, these kind of almost seem like they're like play starter-ish, or like combo extenders. So going second, like you can't just Boral Sword your opponent. Or like the first thing that came to mind when we didn't have the spell cards and we just had this, it sounds like you want to keep this guy on field. And now that we have the spell cards, like you definitely need him on field. So like protection cards, right? That's the first thing that came to my mind. So like an Avermax or Cyber's Quantum Dragon, you can't special them if you are playing most of these cards, because both of those cards are cyber, so you can't go into anything that's not a zombie monster after you've activated these cards. So like, not being able to go into your extra deck is not really strong. I would love to see additional support, especially like in the form of links or just extra deck monsters for this Eldlich archetype in specific, because if you played this, it sounds like half of your extra deck is kind of turned off for the rest of the turn. So just be mindful of that, be mindful of how you play these cards and just like the order that you play these cards. And then something else that I really want to see out of this archetype is maybe like a normal summon monster, or just more monsters in general, right? Like a monster that allows you to send this card directly from the field to the graveyard, or like just discard it, which I know is Unizombie already, but like with this card's name, like if it was just an Eldritch, or like even a card that if you were able to get it on field, its name becomes Eldritch the Golden Lord. I think this deck could really use something like that. It's not bad. Like, this deck is really cool. I would love to see the cards in person. We love opening these packs and seeing like the rarities and all that stuff. So check out our opening when the set comes out in the beginning of April. We'll definitely be opening a couple boxes of this set. Make sure you guys let us know too, like, what do you think? What do you like this? Is this like, am I missing something? Did I not see a combo or like the interactions with these cards? Am I just dumb and this is really great in the next Master Rule because you can go and whatever? Like, let me know. Like, this is why the channel exists, and this is why we do these videos, so that we can talk to you guys and we can learn from you and you guys can learn from us, and we can just grow together as players. That's all that we want to do, is just grow together. So thank you guys so much for allowing us to do this, for asking for this. Please, please, please go follow us on Instagram and message us, because like that's what it's about. It's about the interaction with you guys. It's about talking to you guys and learning about what you're doing, some text that you guys are trying out, some texts that I'm trying out that aren't on YouTube yet. So like, it's really, really awesome. I really appreciate you guys reaching out. I know Logan does too. She's teaching right now, but we love you. You guys matter. Check out our Instagram. Check out our TCGplayer link. We have merch also in the description box down below. And if you guys are interested in zombies and are new to the archetype, we have a zombie control profile, which is in the description box down below. It's also able to be found on the channel And we have a combo, which will be a combo profile, which is also linked in the description box down below. And if you want to go check out my most recent one, Team Samurai X1 was lovely enough to let us feature my profile on his channel, so go check that out too. We will link that. We love you guys, you matter, and we will see you in the next video. Take care, y'all.